Our Praggnanandhaa makes his way to the playing hall. He is taking on Jan Nepomniachtchi in the all-important round 5 encounter of the FIDE Candidates 2024. And there you have Jan entering. He's a little bit confused because the layout of the playing hall has changed totally. And so he goes towards a board there. He sees the FIDE flag against Indian flag and goes there, but later realizes that's actually the Goryachkina versus Humpy board. So then moves to actually his board there, sees his name on the chair, and game. That's Nepo score sheet, and this is Praggnanandhaa. Nepo got the spelling right, but Pragg got Nepomniachtchi's spelling wrong, where I told Pragg what he had missed, but Pragg said, okay, that's fine, I have to now focus on the game. So that was a funny moment before the start of the day, and there we go. The game is about to begin. Pragg has the white pieces, Nepo has black. Nepo is the winner of 2 candidates before this. He's also the sole leader at this point. Let's see how Praggnanandhaa deals with this. Just like with it, Pragg also takes his time before making the first move. He doesn't make it instantly. And now he plays his pawn to e4 after taking 36 seconds. Nepo responds back with e5. Jan Nepomniachtchi, known for his Petroff defense. Let's see if he goes for it. Knight comes out to f3. And Nepo does play his knight out to f6. One of the most solid openings in the world of chess. How is Praggnanandhaa going to break Jan's Petroff? Even Magnus Carlsen had difficulties doing that in the World Championship match in 2021. So Pragg takes the pawn. Now remember, taking here is not a great idea because of queen e2, white gets an advantage. And that's the reason why Nepo pushes first the knight away. The knight goes back to f3. And now black can take on e4. Yes, he takes the pawn on e4. And now you can pin, but that can also be just simply met with queen e7. So Pragg goes for the main line with d4. And Nepo plays his pawn to d5. This has been played many times before. And Pragg brings his bishop to d3. Just finishing his development. Next move, you want to castle. And if you think about this position, you will see that it's very symmetrical in a way. Just that knight is on f3 and black knight is on e4. Shouldn't black be better because black's knight is more active than white's? Well, it turns out that this knight is a little shaky for the time being. And this is what gives white a small edge, because after black castles, you will see that Pragg now plays his next move c4, and he wants to sort of shake up this knight in the center of the board. Nepo says, I'm going to solidify it with the pawn to c6, and now Pragg brings his knight out to c3. Nepo has played this on several occasions, and so he responds quickly. He takes back, knight takes c3, and Pragg takes back, b takes c3, and now you take d takes c4. The pawn is taken. Praggnanandhaa will capture it back. And now for black, the main move used to be bishop coming to g4, but it seems like Nepo has more trust in putting his bishop on f5. We have seen this before, and he does play it. Bishop comes out to f5, a strong move there, just putting it on a good square. And now Pragg has to decide which is the way in which he continues his development, and I think this is a very nice provocative move, because you can't push your pawn to f6. This is pinned, so you are attacking the queen here, and Nepo has to decide where to put his queen. He decides to go to a5, and you will see that he is putting pressure on the c3 pawn, and there's also pressure on the g5 bishop somehow. But Pragg goes knight h4, and by the way, this is not a new move. This has been played before, and Pragg is actually been blitzing out his moves. He's well prepared, so is Nepo. And now Nepo plays his bishop back to e6. Of course, if you take here, which Pragg does, and if black had to take back, his structure would be terrible. White is just better after this. But Nepo's idea is not to recapture that bishop, it is to actually recapture this one here on g5. And now both the pieces are hanging on e6 and h4. So Pragg brings back the knight and attacks the queen. This is all well-known theory. We are on move number 15. Nepo has also played this against Rauf Mamedov in an online game. So now he attacks the pawn on c3 and also the bishop is hanging. So it's very interesting to see what is the move that Pragg chooses. He puts his bishop on h3. And more than this diagonal being important, I think it has more to do with the fact that this keeps the b file open. The bishop on b3 would not have allowed that. And you will see that Nepo is now taking his time. He takes the pawn on c3. Last time he played Mamedov, I think he had chosen the move queen to c7. But here he comes up with this move queen c3. And now to test Pragg whether he's prepared, Pragg says, of course I'm prepared, and he goes rook b1, attacking the pawn on b7. That pawn has to be protected. You cannot let a rook enter the 7th rank. Also the knight cannot develop easily here. So he plays pawn to b6. And now Pragg comes back to the board. Is he out of his prep now? Or is he still in his prep? Or is his prep beginning here? Rook b3 attacks the queen. Okay, queen sort of has two squares, c4 and a5. Both seem viable, and I'm sure Pragg is prepared in both the moves. Nepo goes queen a5. And if Nepomniachtchi can put his queen somewhere here, his position should be fine. Then get the knight out, he's pawn up. Maybe in the process he may give back a pawn. But Pragg instantly plays d5. What a move. And the main point being, queen takes d5 is met with rook d3 and you lose the bishop. So d5 you cannot take with the queen. Nepo, after thinking for a full 40 minutes, takes back with the pawn. But now you can see that the queen is a little bit sidelined because of her own pawn, and Pragg is ready with his next move. This is scary because Pragg is so well prepared and he moves in with the knight. Now with the knight, bishop, queen and rook, this can actually turn into a very dangerous attack. g6 perhaps is the best move, but what can be more natural than kicking the knight away? And what is Pragg's idea? Boom! He takes on f7. Indicating that if you take with the rook, I have bishop e6, next move this is hanging and white is better. So Nepo picks this up with his king, looks at Pragg and says, what is your prep now, Pragg? What do you want to do? Well, Praggnanandhaa now moves his rook to d3, and look at this. He wants to take here, but he's not going to win a piece because bishop will come to c5, but he can move his queen and bishop and he wants to attack. Nepo says, take my piece, because if you take here, I'll simply go back and I'll be happy. You know, just finishing his development. But Pragg now chops off the pawn on d5. It's very important for Nepo to take here and then play knight c5, and he would have won an important pawn in the same variation like what could happen in the game. But he goes knight c5, and this is a big mistake. This is a massive mistake which gives Praggnanandhaa a big advantage. So Pragg has 1 hour extra on the clock. He has a completely better position, and all of that because of his amazing prep. Now he can take the bishop, which is the most natural move. He must do it. But he's calculating if there are some checks which he must consider, because he doesn't know what the best move is now. So he takes on d6. After 7 minutes of thought, not a big thought there, but rook takes d6, and now I think it's time to move your king inside. This is very important. King to g8, so that at least you have some fighting chances. Yes, he goes king g8, and now Pragg has kind of a straight line to win this game, which is queen d5 check. Very important. First you need to move your queen forward, and I think Pragg is ready with that move after 16 minutes of thought. So Pragg also investing some serious time. He gives a check, and Nepo now can move his king to h8. Now the winning move here is queen e5, threatening rook takes h6 check. Pragg did not like the fact that here queen takes a2 would happen, but there was bishop f5, very strong move, and then after king g8 comes the move bishop b1 and queen b2, a very tough line to see, and that's the reason why Pragg goes bishop to f5. But this is a mistake. This throws away a major chunk of the advantage, because now Nepo has this brilliant move knight b7. Let's see if he finds it, because knight b7, if you take the knight, the bishop is hanging, and he finds it. Beautiful. And now the queens are going to get traded, and that is going to reduce Pragg's advantage. So bishop f5 was not good, but there was this very, very difficult win with bishop b1 and queen b2, which was not spotted by Pragg. Now the thing is, although the material is even, white's bishop is better than black's knight. So clearly Pragg can try. He goes g4, and he also has a kingside majority. But the issue here is that black's pieces are very active, and he's not even materially down. So knight to c4, attacking the rook. And now rook to d5 played. Calm move. And he plays his rook a to e8. So the rook becomes more active, and Pragg plays h3. How does black continue now? Also, the black king is slightly passive here, because this square is controlled. So knight e5 played. Maybe somewhere if you can get g6 and king g7, that would be epic. Pragg can go f4, I believe, but f4 he'll just come back to c4. So goes king g2 first, and now Nepo pushes the bishop away. The bishop comes back to c2, and perhaps now you can go g5, fixing this structure. Yes, good move by Nepo, because now f4 is impossible. Once the f4 move is not possible, this is a solid position with the knight controlling this square. Bishop comes back, and maybe Pragg wants rook to c1 to c7. That is his idea, to get on the c file. Nepo solidly defends with rook e7, and you can see that Pragg is thinking what should be the way to press. He goes rook d6, and he's attacking the h6 pawn. Nepo simply brings his king up to g7, and Pragg now moves his rook, maybe the other rook. Yes, where? Rook e1 played. White still has some pressure in the position. Black is slightly passive, but you can see how Nepo confidently is making his moves. He goes rook f6. Can Pragg come up? Yes, he plays rook d5 with attacking the knight. The knight has to be careful, because the rook could be hanging, but Nepo is prepared with his move. He goes knight g6. This doesn't look the best, because now let's say after take rook d7, you have pinned the knight and also attacked this pawn. But king f8 is such a nice move, because now if you take on a7, I'm going to take on f5, and then the material is even. So that's the reason why Pragg now has to move his bishop away. You can see Nepo gets up from the board, just showing to Pragg that, hey, I'm completely fine now. Bishop comes to e4, improving the position of his bishop. And now Nepo comes back. a7 is still hanging, but maybe it's time now to push your pawns on the queen side for black. He pushes to a5. And we have reached, we are closing in on the 40th move. This is the 40th move. Pragg goes king g3. There's still enough imbalances in this position to continue playing for white for sure. But Nepo is known for his defensive skills. He goes knight g6 and Pragg takes it, because otherwise the knight would be very well settled on f4. So takes, rook takes, and maybe Pragg can try to create a passer with f4, then later using his kingside pawns. He first plays h4, because if you take here king h4, then you have f4 f5 coming in later. So Nepo would not like to take, but then Pragg gets an additional option of playing h5 and fixing these pawns. So this time it's Pragg's time to get up from the board. Nepo plays rook to c6. He wants to enter in with a check and then move here, attack this pawn. Pragg takes on g5. He doesn't push the pawn to h5, because maybe with pawn to h5 king simply stays here and defends this. So he goes hg, h takes g5, and now how do you create a passer here? It's difficult, because if check f4, there's a check coming in. So he goes rook b7. Nepo pushes the pawn to a4. Slowly and steadily we are inching towards a draw here. a4 played, and you can see Praggnanandhaa looking up there, and I believe he's going to offer a draw. It seems he's just thinking whether there's any hope for him. Pragg is generally very careful before offering a draw, because he likes to fight till the very end. And oh, maybe Nepo had already offered a draw and Pragg has accepted the draw. Let's hear their analysis.